So here's a wheel well on the Aristocrat. So you can see I still have to trim that off right there so it's flush, but you can see it's all sitting around the side. And so what I'm gonna do, we'll come over to the other side, is I'll do a little video here. This side I still have to make. And so what I use is the J-rail. Here's my piece here. It's about 4 foot long, which is longer than what you're gonna need for that whole thing, but I'd rather have a little extra length to cut off than to do it and be short. And since we are not all professionals, I am not a professional machine shop, I don't have certain equipment, so what I'll do is find something metallic that looks like it's close to those shapes, and for me, it's actually this hubcap. And if you look at it and you put it up there, it's pretty close to those corners. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna heat this up. This is a little burner, nothing fancy. You can use the blue tanks, any color tank you want. And I'm going to heat this up, kind of like annealing it, I guess, and get it warm enough so I can start to put some bends, and I will bend it around this to get a quick shapes. All right, so I'm going to show you partial, I guess. So I took this piece of J-rail and I have a pencil mark here and another pencil mark there. I brought this over to the wheel well and that's about where I want it. So what I'm going to do real quick is heat these up. All right, I found my gloves. They do make welding gloves that hold heat and stuff. These are just leather gloves that will help protect me a little bit when I'm holding this. So all I'm gonna do is hold this against me, and I know the way I wanna shape it. So just gonna do like so. You know, get a rough bend. There's my pencil line. Because when we go over to with the wheel well itself, we'll make some final adjustments on here. You know, I just want to get it close so there's something I can work with. So I'll be back in just a minute. I'm going to set up the camera by the wheel well so we can see how this all gets installed. We'll be back. All right, so we are set up here by the wheel well. I'll show you a couple things. I have my rubber mallet for trying to kind of fine tune it in there. And then I do use these lath screws. You can see they have a drill bit on the tip because I need to drill, because this doesn't have any pre-done holes in it. And then underneath here, this metal wraps through the wheel well. So it's metal to metal, so I need a metal screw to drive through. All right, so here we go. Let's see how this works. So this is the original bend. You can see it's not gonna obviously go in there, but the points of the angle are pretty good. So pick a side. If you want to do this side first, you know, you can kind of center it, push it up, give it a little bit of bend, you know, so you can kind of roughly see where it's going to go. When you look like it's going to go pretty well, what I will do, I said, this is how I do it. I'm sure there's professionals saying I'm doing it wrong, wrong materials. Maybe there's a different material for here, but being creative is what counts, and it looks good when done. So what I'm going to do is keep this lip of the J-rail pushed against the trailer, and I'm going to put a screw up to hold this in place. And so now my center's in place. I can work on either side and keep it up. So this can be pushed up. You can use your rubber mallet. And all I do is, so my center screw is here. Wherever I see there's pressure needing going up, I'm going to put another screw here. And when I set these to fit this opening, I only put enough screws in to pull the gaps where I need them. And then when we take this back off, I will put liquid butyl around here. I'll put these screws back in, but then I will fill it in so there's more screws. But you don't want to have that many screws in to begin with, because I've tried it that way and it doesn't work. It makes it more difficult. There's that one. And if you're wondering too, from when we brought it from my other bench to over here, like I said, I didn't get it so hot it was red and glowing. I mean, there's slight warmth on here, but it is naturally just kind of cool off on its own. So that side to me looks pretty good, so I have extra. We'll deal with that later. We'll just keep coming around to this side. So again, my first screw was right here. I'm gonna put one here, and then I'll probably work one around this corner just to make sure it gets all nice and snug up there. And so like this, you can see there's a, hopefully you can see there's a push out here. So when I'm screwing this piece in, I'm gonna hold it tight so it draws it that way as far as possible. All right, so let me get the camera off the tripod for a second and show you what's going on. So there you can see, back this up a little bit, the wheel well, the trim is on, and if you look around, it's pretty good on those edges. There's a little spot here, but I'll put another screw there and here, but mostly it's on. So now what I'm going to do is I'll unscrew this, take this off, and I guess I can show you putting the liquid butyl on, then we'll come back and install it again. We'll be right back. All right, just real quick, I have the wheel trim off, and you can see it's got the shape of what we just did. There are some holes in there. The product I use is just a liquid butyl. There's many brands, doesn't matter, as long as it has butyl rubber sealant, because we went through on windows, this is butyl tape, and you can't put this in this gap because it's too firm. You need something more like a caulking so it works better. They have this in grays, whites, there's many other brands. Use whoever you can get. And what I'm gonna do is just fill up this lower bead. So I will just quick do that and I'll show you that done. You don't need to watch me do some caulking. All right, that took about a minute. So you can see in here I have, kind of hard to see because it's silver on gray, but it's there. Just a nice little bead. Doesn't have to be too heavy or too big. Just enough so when this gets pushed up against the side and it just makes a little seal. If you were to fill this whole trough up with the butyl tape and you push it up, you're gonna get a lot of ooze and a lot of mess, and you're gonna have to do some cleaning on your trailer. And that isn't really necessary because, I mean, this does do a sealing, but it's not a concern like around windows and stuff. So let me set this back up and we'll put this back on the other side. All right, so we're back, and this is the piece that we had caulked. I just want to mention, you know, this is a fairly soft radius. There are wheel wells that have a very tight radius. You know, just be creative what you have. If you know what a hole saw is, which this is a hole saw, this is a little bit bigger one. I don't know, this is a 3.5 inch or something like that, 4 inch. You can use this. You know, what you want to do if you're heating this, obviously you can't use plastic to bend around because you'll melt it. So you have to find something metal. You know, and what I've done, because on this trailer up in the upper curves, the J-rails had tight radiuses. So what I do is, if you have it installed how it's supposed to be, and you drill this into a wood table just so the tip is down and the teeth have grabbed a little bit, it's actually pretty stable. Then you have this to bend around and you can get your tighter radiuses. So it's, again, I'm sure there's professional ways to do this with a machine shop or a fabrication shop, but when you don't have those items, you need to do what you need to do, right? So this is what I needed to do. So what I'll do again is, this is my middle screw. I will start it back up into that spot. And you can tell how by easy that screwed in, that I did have the screw line back up. That is important because you don't want to start making new screw holes and move this piece because you already had it fit to where it was. So then just kind of work your way back around. You know, and sometimes it's more difficult than others. And since that gap was big, we'll put one in between those two because we want this wheel trim to hold. And you can hear the difference between a screw that's already been drilled and me putting in new ones. And if you can see from there, this is the bottom of the trailer where the wood ends, and I'm going to cut it off here. So just put the last screw just above that to make sure it holds nice and solid. So, you know, when you're putting this back on the second time, if you see any spots where it looks like it might need a little extra, or it's loose, you know, so there, everything's sealed on, been put back on, screwed on. So the finished part is just to take, you can use a multi-tool, a Dremel tool. Just cut this off straight across where this bottom trim line is. Just cut that off there. That'll be the finished trim.